Welcome to PAB 2012.
What you're looking at here are painted reproductions of conversations between me and my son. This is basically our storytelling project. Everybody has a story to tell, and it's so important that everybody gets a chance to express their stories and a chance to share them. But some people don't have that ability to share their stories. In fact, some individuals, especially those on the autism spectrum, don't even know they have a story to tell. And that was the case with my son when he was around up until the age 5 years old. Autism, if you're not aware, is a cognitive disorder, neurologically based, and it keeps the individuals who have it from being able to communicate, being able to socialize, and relate to other people. Very often when they're young, they don't even relate to other people as people, they're actually objects. So a baby, when they're 6 months old, will look at you as an object, but within up to 9 months, 10 months, 12 months, they separate themselves from that other person, and they begin to realize that that you and that other person, me as a baby and my mother, are separate beings, and they start to form relationships with this other being, and so on and so on. And Ellis, when he was 5 years old, that didn't happen. He was literally, I was an object to him. I wasn't a human being whatsoever. He would play on me, around me. He would use me as a toy, but I wasn't really a human being. If he needed some juice, he would use me by grabbing my arm and forcing my hand up into the direction of the juice so that I would get him his juice. There was no connection whatsoever. A little anecdote about that, just to give you a really idea of what it's like to live with a person like that. So he was 5 years old, and I was going to get him a glass of juice. He wanted me to get him juice, so I went into the kitchen and I grabbed a juice box from the upper cupboard. And I was reaching for it, and as I was reaching for it, the cabinet door was open, and bang, hit me right in the forehead. I'm not sure if anyone knows what that feels like. Getting smacked in the corner, I was in shock. I crumbled to the ground. I was fuming in pain, and I even had some blood dripping down my forehead when I noticed it later. And Ellis's reaction was that he cried, not because he was distressed that I was hurt. He was crying because, where's my juice? My injury didn't even exist to him. It didn't, how can an extension of myself be injured? I didn't feel it, so it didn't happen. So it's much more profound than a difficulty communicating. It's a difficulty relating to other people, and as a result, why learn to communicate, right? Except to scream and yell and maybe the occasional word or two to get what you want, or to keep things away from you. And that was the bubble that Ellis lived in. He lived in a bubble, and I wasn't allowed into it. Nobody was. I understood that Ellis might potentially think in pictures. So what I started doing was I started using drawings as a way of communicating to him. So I started talking to him in pictures. If he thinks in pictures, I'm going to talk to him in pictures. And so it was a huge breakthrough when it worked so well that he started to draw back to me. We ended up having conversations back and forth through drawings. The drawings, we would literally have visual conversations. And like so many of his drawings, they became an insight, not just to communicate. It wasn't just a tool to say, I want this, I want that. Eventually it became a tool to see who he really was as a human being, see his intelligence. And in fact, blow up many of the myths that we take for granted about individuals who have autism, that they're rigid thinkers and that they don't empathize, that they don't have a sense of humor, they don't have an imagination, just give them rule-based life functioning skills, and let's just leave it at that. So I'm going to take you on that journey right now. talk about the paintings, and I'll show you the original drawings and talk about how they evolved. And by seeing the drawings, the evolution of the drawings, you're actually going to witness an evolution of a child. So it actually started here. Here I am. I telling him that we wanted to make breakfast, and so I was asking him to set the table. So what did I do? I was telling him that please go get a fork and a knife, please. So, and he didn't understand that. So then I would simply cut my words down and say fork, knife. And he was still confused. He would say, for months and months and months, I would get down on my knees, I would look him straight in the eyes, or try to, because at that age he didn't look me in the eyes. And I would say fork, knife. And what he would do, he would go in the kitchen, the poor kid, and he would grab a spoon and then wander away, and not knowing what the hell he's doing with this spoon. And the reason why he was not able to perform that simple action is that he had difficulties holding on to auditory information. Okay? When I say something, when I say fork and spoon, it's gone the very second it leaves my mouth. You need a brain that can hold on to the information and process those two sound waves that can hold on to that and understand what that means and not lose it. And he lost, by the time we went to the drawer, he lost it. It wasn't there. So I figured if he thinks in pictures, I'll draw what I want him to do. I drew that on the chalkboard. I was going to have a chalkboard here and show you, but there was no time, so it's a good thing I have some of the stuff here. But essentially, how long does it take to draw that? About 3 or 4 seconds. And everything that I drew to him was as quick as possible. This was a form of communication. It wasn't art. So he looked at that. And then he went right to the kitchen. He grabbed a fork and a knife. He slapped it right up against the chalkboard. And then he hit the table with it. Bang! Fork and knife. And I was just like, literally, I was utterly speechless. And what was amazing was that almost every single drawing I'm going to show you, especially the first 5 or 6 or 7 of them, I was speechless every single time. Every single time. It was almost like when Titanic was discovered. Every single time that robot went down and showed a new piece of the Titanic, which had been lost for years, everyone was like, "Oh my God, look, it's the stern. Oh my God, it's a plate. Oh my God, it's a shoe." And me as a kid, I was like, "Where's the bones?" Right? But anyways, so he had been lost for years, and each drawing was like the drawing was kind of like a robot giving a snapshot of, "Oh my God, look at that! That's amazing." I can prove to his teachers and his educators that he is intelligent. Unfortunately, we tend to confuse verbal language for intelligence, and if you're lacking verbal language, you're lacking intelligence. And we couldn't be further from the truth. Verbal language is only one of many, many languages, and in fact, most of when we communicate with each other, verbal communication is only anywhere between 10 to 30% of what's being said. The rest of it is nonverbal. It's intonation, it's context, it's body language, it's facial language. I mean, you look at a dog, and how well does a dog communicate, right? This is amazing. Theory of mind. He started to begin to show that he was beginning to understand that I had my own thoughts, that I had my own awareness that was different from his. So again, this was a bedtime thing. A lot of these things happened at bedtime. And he drew that I was telling him, it's time to go to bed, 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 the hug won't work, time to go to bed. And he drew a picture of me thinking about him going to bed. And autistics are not supposed to have this ability, or they're supposed to have it in a very, very limited way. And then as he got older, I started using some of the things I'd seen in his drawings to get more out of him. So one day he was laughing to himself while he was eating breakfast, and I couldn't access it. I was asking him, "What are you laughing about? What are you laughing about?" He couldn't say it. So I drew a picture of, and these are conversations. Very often I'm doing the drawing as well. He would respond to me, I would respond to him. Sometimes he only draws, sometimes I only drew. So this is a good example of a conversation where I drew him thinking about something. I'm like, "Please fill it in. Tell me what you're thinking about." and he drew a picture of that he had played a trick on me the day before where I was on the computer and he had taken a video camera and videotaped himself turning off my screen and then videotaped my reaction. That's what he's thinking about.
Thanks, Jason.